Does that obviously now takes him up to elite managerial level, you would say, Simon?
Oh, absolutely.
There's no question about that. There's no debate.
I think it's undeniable. If you've won the biggest prizes with a side, then you catapult yourself into a category. Whether you stay there is a different matter, because you'll only be as good as the next thing that you do. But he's certainly earned a position to be an elite manager, because he's rebuilt Liverpool, been given a lot of support to do it, but primarily had the nous to do it and turn them from what Brendan Rodgers had created and was starting to wane with, to a different Liverpool with far more irrepressibility about them, into a Champions League winning side, a Premier League winning side, probably one of the poorest defending champions of their Premier League. That's a different discussion. But here they go again. And obviously with their best players back in situ and very influential players like Virgil van Dijk, they've given themselves a platform again to be what Liverpool were. Because when I watched Liverpool 2 or 3 years ago, and I remember them playing Roma in a Champions League game, and it was just beautiful to watch. It was just exciting, igniting, football of the highest order. So yes, I think he's an elite manager. Not winning the Champions League doesn't mean that you're not an elite manager if that's where we're going. Because,
maybe.
Because Pep Guardiola not winning the Champions League doesn't not mean he's an elite manager, means that he's not doing the job that Man City brought him in to do, given the resources that he's had.
Is that fact?
Well, it's not a positive inclination, is it? You've been there 5 years. You've dominated English football, which I think is the more difficult of the two, irrespective of playing 13 games in the Champions League, which may now be 17 with the change of the Champions League format. It's still a cup competition. Winning the league is 38. It's a marathon, a little less of a sprint. So I think you have to say, but then you're pitching yourself. These managers pitch themselves against the elite managers. There are 4 or 5 elite managers in the Premier League. There's arguably 10 or 12 elite managers in the Champions League. So when you win that, you win the battle of the managers rather than the battle of the league. So I do think it's a mark against Guardiola that he hasn't come into Man City with all the resources that he's been given and the quality of their football, and not had the ability to do what he should have done, because both of those losses in the semi-final against Lyon and also the final against Chelsea were as much on Guardiola as they were on anybody else, i.e. the players, because his tactical decisions, he was outmanoeuvred in both games. He outthought himself against Lyon, and he was outthought by Thomas Tuchel in the last Champions League final. So I don't think it takes him away from being an elite manager, but I don't think it's a commendation that he haven't won the league, won the Champions League.
What about with you, Trevor, then? The fact that he has won, 3 of the last 4 Premier League titles, I should say, Pep Guardiola. We look at the Premier League, and of course, over here, we love it. We talk about it. We celebrate how competitive it is, and it is one of the most competitive leagues in the world. The fact that he hasn't won the Champions League may well end up being a blot on his Manchester City CV. But the fact that he's won, as I just pointed out, 3 of the last 4 Premier League titles, has got to put him up there, hasn't it, as one of the best?
Well, of course it does. And I think Simon just touched on it there a little bit. The league form, winning the Premier League is the bread and butter. If you ask any Liverpool fans after they won the Champions League with Jurgen Klopp, do they want to win the Champions League again, or do they want to win the Premier League? They want to win the Premier League. Every team in the league wants to win the Premier League. And I think that is the real test. That is a real acid test. If you can do it over 38 games, I think it's more difficult to win the Premier League.
So is it therefore more remarkable that he's done it in 3 of the last 4?
Well, I think that is remarkable. But like Simon says, he has had the finances to bring in players. But still, we talk about managers being able to deal with an expensive squad. Egos, personalities, you're a salesman as a coach, and him as a salesman, he's been able to get everyone to buy into his ideas. And you look at even last night in defeat, you look at the way they played. I mean, it was from a fan's perspective, apart from the result, it was so satisfying to see the performance from Manchester City last night, because at times they dictated that game, as they did on Saturday against Chelsea. So as a coach, being able to sell his ideas to players, I think he's phenomenal at that. Whether he makes he overcomplicates things in big games at times. Yeah, I believe he did do that in the Champions League final. I think by not playing a holding midfielder, I think that made it very much more difficult for Manchester City to win that Champions League final. But you have to give credit to Thomas Tuchel and the Chelsea players for going and building on their game plan and executing it better than Manchester City's. But what I would say is, winning 3 out of the last 4 Premier League titles for Pep, I think he'll be very,
Has
very
to be
happy with the
applauded.
work done.
And of course, it's made easier. If you've got 25 players in the squad, all of them of the highest quality, you can afford to have a very robust disposition of how you want players to play. And if they don't play the way you want them to play, they won't play. So the battles that he's had with certain players, Grealish is beginning to morph into a player that plays the way he wants him to play, and he will become better for it. But if Grealish doesn't play that way, he'll be out. Sterling will be in his position. If XYZ player doesn't play, because he's got the depth in a squad, he has the luxury of not necessarily needing to be a salesman or to prostitute himself. He has a very definite opportunity to say, this is the way you play. And if you don't play exactly as I want you to play, I don't mean Intel programming players, but it's expectations of the intensity, the pressing, the dynamics of the positional awareness, and so on and so forth. And if you don't, you're out. So the players have a very clear understanding of the responsibilities and understanding of the clear directive from the manager.
Exactly. And in a way, it's a little bit of a throwback to the days when managers were in charge and you had maybe 15 players in the squad. They were in charge, and whatever they asked you to do, you'd do. Because we've got 2 players in each position, it's almost like Pep's got that same power, because if one player's not doing it, he'll drop him and put a player in that will do it. And listen, that's the way football should be. You know, the manager should be in charge, and he should tell the team.
Which makes it even more scandalous, old one eye, as to the reasons why Man City haven't won the Champions League then.
Shut up, you idiot.
On that note, we'll take a break. This is talkSPORT.
Jim White and Simon Jordan, Monday to Thursday morning, 10 till 1. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.